Welcome back. On the streets, teacher. Spring break, so I'm going to get to speak to a lot of educators out there, and that's what we got here. And it all starts there. That's, if you're going to bend them, that's where we hear it over and over again. Oh, it's the teachers. Oh, it's the colleges. Oh, this. And it is. And of course, what I'm going to do out there, I attract people of like mind for the most part. Are going to come speak to me. So the teachers I've run into are basically fighting an uphill battle. Because, and the last one in this row is really going to rock you. So hopefully this will give you some hope. We got some good teachers out there, you know, and they're doing what they can. So hope you enjoy this one, and if you do, you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. You know the routine. And of course, most importantly, though, right now I do need some income. I had, as I mentioned some earlier videos, I had some losses here, some equipment that is going to cost me dearly to replace. So if you can't see your way, please go to my shop and get something, or contribute to my YouTube channel, which will all be in the description. So thank you for coming on board. God bless you. And here we go. Let's get on the streets and learn something. Out here, and I tip of the hat to you having to deal with teaching these days.
It's hard.
I mean,
it is very rough.
I'm telling you. Matter of fact, there was a article in the paper today before it came out. I read about teachers where the curriculum's coming down, where they're demanding or forcing teachers to teach social consciousness to,
and it's all, I think it also depends on like the school you teach in. So like the public schools are a little more relaxed versus like charter schools are a lot more strict on like what you have to teach and things like that. So
which is actually the opposite of intuitive. You can imagine that the public schools there's more direction. Yeah. But at least in Memphis, the charter schools are like super disciplined. Good. A lot of structure.
Do you have to deal with any of that gender fluidity crap or any of that?
We joke about it a lot.
Yeah, I think at least the way I feel about it, I'm happy to call anyone whatever they want, but when the government is trying to tell me what to tell people, then that's when I got it.
I think it starts getting, where I start kind of having questions, I think, is when people start saying like, oh, it's like you're like born with like a certain mindset, and that mindset is what makes you like think certain, whether you're like a certain gender or something. I'm not like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
Or people are like, I was born like in the wrong, I don't know.
I think it's genetic or it's biological.
Yeah, I get a little.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. I mean, look down there, go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm this or that. You know, I mean. And I can understand where, some people might be more feminine or more masculine and that, but you're still a male or female. I mean, it's the way it is.
They're trying to merge the definition of gender and sex.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all confusion, too, because, I mean, if you're really going to take over society, it starts in the schools.
That's true.
I mean, and I think that's a lot of the problems we have. That there's a good interview to watch of a guy who defected from the KGB in '58.
Interesting.
And he came over, and you can watch it on the internet. Bergatsky, or I think his name is. And he was one of the top KGB guys.
Okay.
And he said, if you're going to take over a country like the United States, it's like a 40-year plan. The first thing you do is you inject your people into the school boards.
Yeah, that's true.
It's happening.
And you teach a socialist agenda.
Yeah.
It reminds me, so I teach economics.
Yes.
And the chair of our department is a self-identifying communist Marxist.
Oh, God.
And he taught economics last year before me.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I have to be careful when I teach Marx because he's the chair of my department, and if I don't teach it neutrally, then I mean, it's not like he won't criticize me or try to stop me from doing it, but
there's like some judgment.
Yeah, there's a little judgment because. So
I got something that might help you.
Yeah.
There's a lady I met out here one day. A little black lady comes up. She's looking at my bar. Brilliant. I go, who are you? She goes, I'm Professor Iris Mack.
Wow.
Harvard, MIT, physics mathematician professor with Enron, and was recruited by Larry Summers to work in Wall Street.
So Enron?
Yeah.
She worked with Enron?
Worked with Enron and worked on Wall Street.
Okay.
With Larry Summers. She found out what a crook he was and blew the whistle on the derivatives firm.
Interesting.
They blackballed her. Now, the first time I met her, too, she stood out for an hour and gave a class for an hour to anybody to stop and listen how Obama screwed up the economy. So I really like the woman. But she really is a pure teacher. She helps, and she has several blogs, and one of them is to help mathematician teachers and students. Her name is Mack, just like the truck, M-A-C-K. So anyway, look her up because she has some good pointers and books, and maybe some ways you can come back and bitch slap that.
Just Mack, M-A-C-K.
Yeah, Iris Mack, Professor Iris Mack.
Badass Uncle Sam.
Yeah. We're gonna check it out.
How you do it these days? I mean,
my gosh.
I know.
And you have a lot of you have to be a lot more careful with choosing your words wisely with the kids, and so we actually had a teacher that got in trouble that kind of was pushing more towards one way than the other, and the parents didn't like that, and so you just have to make sure that you are the neutral party. And just
I've seen article after article, or story after story, where you have liberal teachers that were showing Trump and shooting him.
Oh yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. But you can't. You have to make. It's fun. it's.
Yeah, and how do you have to deal with that? I mean, you have to deal with the gender thing too, and all that.
Yes. If I was to I can't express my views on it whatsoever. That's the only way I stay out of trouble. It's just like, you know what, everyone, you do your thing. Let's move on. We're only talking about math. I just make sure we only talk about math.
I'm starting to understand why more and more people are homeschooling.
Yeah. Because if you push one way or the other, then you are the bad guy. I can't express my views whatsoever. So
I assume you lean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. The Green New Deal.
That doesn't even make sense. How do you even put that on paper? Like, it doesn't. They're doing 1 + 1 = 1,000, and it's not even 3 anymore. They skipped to 1,000. It doesn't add up at all. Anybody who did math ever is just like, you can't defend that.
And it seems like there's no. They don't. It's a surface thought on them. It's like, we'll do this, but there's no. Well, how do you do that? Well, how do you manufacture that?
I was talking to someone about the border crisis. They're like, well, you don't have any morals, or you're not compassionate. I was like, that's a very nice word to throw around, but you don't have any logic to back that up. You can just say, oh, we need to help the people from Nicaragua. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's paying for that shit? Like.
Yeah.
So what, we just let them all in, and then what? Then we'll all be just like them? Like, and then where will we go? It's not logic. It's you can't fight that.
So God bless you. I mean, tip of the hat dealing with it. I mean,
just when I teach, I just got to make sure that I'm neutral with everything, and
But it has to come up. The students have to bring it up from time to time.
Yeah, they do. And I just, whenever they do bring up touchy topics like that, I'm just like, you know what? Everyone has their own opinion about it, and let's focus back on math and try to turn away from it. Just because, God forbid I say something one way or the other.
And how long you been teaching?
15 some odd years, yeah.
15 years, so you've seen the changes.
I have.
And you in the educational
Yeah,
system?
I'm in human resources.
Human resources? That's almost just as bad, isn't it?
We have to do, we're going to California, and we have to worry about the gender bathrooms. Speaking of bathrooms.
Really?
Can't have a men and women's bathroom. You have to have...
You know what gets me on this? New Orleans has always been, you know, kind of a liberal place anyway, but, when, you know, if you go into most of the bars here, especially back when, there'd be only one bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
There was never any law that says a man couldn't go into a woman's bathroom, a woman
Right.
couldn't go into a man's bathroom. I mean, you just went into the empty bathroom,
Yeah.
right? And it didn't become an issue until they made it an issue.
Right.
Which to me is the whole thing. They make shit up.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I gotta, I mean, especially, I assume you lean.
Pretty far left.
You lean pretty far left?
Yeah. Were you gonna peg me for a righty?
Well, I was hoping.
However, I'll say this. My perfect America, let me go to a gay wedding carrying an AK-47, smoking a joint.
Yeah. Well, you know, as far as like, I'm very libertarian when it comes to a lot of things, you know, like when it comes to social things and drugs and stuff like that. I mean, that's cool because I think that's a lot of crossover with liberals and what you do. But what I find with the left now, because I grew up...
That they're a bunch of assholes like that guy? They're a bunch of assholes like this guy?
Well, that you know, because I grew up Northeastern, blue-collar, liberal, you know, the whole working class, you know, blue-collar working class thing. But and it's through history, and you teach this, if you know it. I mean, hopefully you know it. That countries or political parties tend to drift left over time.
Yeah.
Because like the Republicans today are sort of like what the liberals used to be like back in my day.
Right.
You know, they're sort of like, you know, right. And the liberals today are like communist China.
Right.
I mean, when you got like Antifa and they start, you know, and like the Green New Deal, and I don't even recognize these people anymore. And then, of course, how do you defend the fact that, you know, the left is embracing censorship?
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, one of the biggest things that, well, you know, about liberalism back in the day was free speech.
Free speech, and now they want to suppress it all.
Yeah.
I get
So
it.
how do you still identify with being, you know, on the left?
Because I don't identify with those people. I don't identify with Antifa because I don't consider those to be leftists. I consider those people just to be radicals.
Radical, yeah.
Yeah, but they're taking over the left. I mean, when you look
That
at...
doesn't mean I need to give it to them.
Well, look, well, thank you. When you look at like people like Cortez and Omar and all the, I mean, they're the ones that have taken over the Democratic Party. Pelosi's been shoved aside.
Be scared of those guys.
Right.
So you know, I mean, it's not well. Yes, and I do run into a. I do.
What's her name? Kama.
Yeah. So I do run into a lot of like, you know, moderate liberals out here that, you know, that I as I said, I used to be able to identify with. That I think again, I don't know how you can still. Why? I mean, I understand that you might want to try and drag the party back from this extremism, but it's not working.
No. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I did vote for Hogan. Who I absolutely love. He's a phenomenal governor.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you look at the people, you'll see what they say. Because I mean, I like a lot of what this, you know, what's that lady from Hawaii says. You know, she's a.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember.
Yeah. She's a nice, you know, crossover liberal.
Exactly.
You know, she speaks a lot of common sense. And then I see that liberalism. The liberals now are almost pro-war.
Right.
And this is across the board.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the radicals.
No,
it's across the board.
Right.
So when you say, well, I guess I lean left, I'm going, why? I mean,
I can't lean right. That's my other issue too.
Well, as I said, leaning right now is the old liberalism.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they are. I mean, you know, they are. They're the open tent now.
Right. Right.
I mean, you know, Jesus, you know, blacks are joining them, Latinos. I mean, you name it. I mean, they're the open tent.
Yeah.
So, as I said, they're the old liberals now, is the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
So if you truly are a liberal, you should be a Republican, because they're more of what the true liberals used to be.
Right, but I would never support the current Democratic Party and who they have in office and...
Current Democratic Party?
I'm sorry, Republican. I'm sorry.
Well, you mean
Trump? You know, those. You know, that.
Well, Trump is more of a liberal than he is a Republican. The guy's policies, I swear, are what liberalism again used to be.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, liberals used to want a secure border.
Right.
He wants a secure border.
Right.
They, you know.
There's always
So, you know, I mean, what is it that you don't like about his policies?
Everything.
No. Well, that's rather a broad statement.
For like a perfect example is building this wall. I believe in border security. I think this whole wall thing is fucking ridiculous.
Why?
Though. Why? Because if certain countries wouldn't have let my family in the 1940s, Hitler would have murdered them all.
Wait. No one's ever saying it, because I went through this with a couple from Mexico City yesterday.
Right, but just like the United States shut down their borders, right, and wouldn't take in people during...
And at times we should do that.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
yeah, you know.
I mean, let me give you this right now, because I speak to you. I'm only going off of people.
No, I know, we actually have to go because we have a tour coming up in a couple minutes. Yeah. So have a good day.
All right.
I need to put that up at school.
Are you a teacher?
I'm an assistant principal.
Oh, boy. At a public school?
Unfortunately, yes.
You have to deal with that gender... God.
Starting to.
Yep.
Starting to.
I've got a girl now who likes to be called Mark. Matt. She's a sweet girl. Very sweet girl. Very intelligent. But she's doing things to call attention upon herself in order that she thinks for awareness, but all it's doing is just making it really rough on her. And I feel horrible for her. It's like all I want is them to be worried about their homework.
Yeah, thank you.
What they've got to learn in class.
Thank you. Yeah, it's got to be causing disciplinary problems and everything else that you really don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, I speak to a lot of educators out here, and depending on the areas and whatnot, you know, what they got to put up with, but especially in the bigger cities, the problems are magnified.
I'm a school teacher.
Tip of the hat to you. Do you have to deal with all the gender?
You know, I teach gifted and talented kids.
Okay.
So mine, they're aware of it, but it is coming into the elementaries. Sadly, mainly 4th and 5th graders, mainly 5th grade.
Which they should not be thinking about those things.
I know, and it is this thing. It's because of what they've heard. It's not necessarily.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what they want. It's like when you go to college, you don't really know what you want at first, unless you want to be a doctor forever. But you don't really know.
I think the whole thing's satanic myself. I really do. I think the whole thing's a satanic.
I think it's just exposure to everything.
Yeah.
I think it's ease of information and exposure.
I mean, even in New York now, the birth certificates don't have a gender on them. Let the kids pick the gender.
I know.
Amazing. What a messed up life that would be.
You know, I'm all for equality. But there's just some things that have filtered down that just it is not.
Well, I'm all for equality in the sense that we're that we're all born and equal, and then you have the equal opportunity to make it or not.
Yeah.
Kids, they
don't know that. They don't know anything yet. They didn't have life experience. They don't know anything. So. I know, it's sad.
Political views, but we think the problem is they're sore losers.
I think it probably goes deeper than that, but that's part of it.
The other problem is they've spent the last 80 to 90 years disarming their base, which is the dumbest thing they could do. So the rest of us are going, okay.
What do you do up there?
I'm a college professor. Imagine that, huh?
And what do you teach?
I teach business, homeland security, criminal justice. I'm very conservative, but I'm open-minded. And I'm a registered independent. This guy Donald Trump beat them at their own game, and it's making them crazy. It's a silly game, isn't it, what they're playing? They want to control us, and all I have to do is stay out of our pockets, stay out of our wallets, and stay out of our bedrooms. I'll be happy. But
now, he came out at CPAC and mentioned about signing the resolution to allow free speech at the campuses, otherwise...
Yeah, what a great idea. Imagine that. I'm a vet, right? I take that very seriously.
Indeed.
And so I think everybody has a right to say and believe whatever they want. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't tell me I can't say it, right? I think that's awesome.
Do you have tenure? Or?
No, I'm not. I worked out in the field all my life, and now I ended up in a college teaching kids the right answers.
And how is it?
It's a little odd because I'm like a square peg in a round hole.
Really?
A little bit. But I believe in this country. I do. My wife does too.
So, tip of the hat to you for dealing, because I imagine you're surrounded by a lot of liberals.
A little bit, yeah.
You think?
Yeah, a little bit. I love this. I love what you're doing. Good job.
Well, thank you, sir. Here's a get out of jail free card from Hillary Clinton for you.
Okay, very good.
It's as you know, good for any crime in the world.
Yeah, unfortunately, it only works for Democrats. It doesn't work for anybody else. God bless you.
He has. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. What I do out there, catch these random interviews, things that you will never hear in the news. And if you like it, you like it. If you care, you share. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And of course, if you will support me, Badass Uncle Sam 76 at gmail.com for PayPal, and of course, go to badassunclesam.threadless to go to my shop and get something. So God bless you. Thank you very much. See you next time on the streets.